Okay, so it's the day after Remembrance Day, and I woke up to just a really disgusting report today. It actually made my blood boil, and it's going to make your blood boil too. It involves an Ontario school principal who incredibly screwed up his school's Remembrance Day service. I'm going to tell you how this happened, like what exactly happened, and then what I've done today. But this isn't something that you're going to find on the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation, the CBC News National News Loop. It's not something that the mainstream media is going to widely report on, but it's something that's so important to fight. And because I don't think this story is going to get the coverage that it deserves, I've written up a long form article on this. The link is in the comments. If you're watching this on Facebook, if you're watching it on YouTube, it'll be in the video description. And this is going to make you so angry. But the way that you can help me fight this is by speaking out and by sharing this story. So the way that you can do that is click on the link in the comments or in the video description and click subscribe. This allows me to directly communicate with you for free and get around Justin Trudeau's news bans. And of course, he's trying to ram this new online harms, or this so-called online harms C-63 censorship bill through the House of Commons. You've got to click subscribe. You've got to share. Click subscribe on the channels here. I hate having to say this sort of stuff over and over again, but this is the world we live in. Justin Trudeau's censorship ban. So what happened? Okay. So this story really shows how far wokeism has eroded the institutions that are supposed to, keep our democracy and our pluralism safe. And in this case, it was a public school. So this morning I woke up to reports of an Ontario public school principal, his decision to politicize his school's Remembrance Day ceremony. But even more egregious was the reason he used to justify this decision. Now, I don't think that what you're about to hear will surprise anybody, because a sizable portion of Canada's education system has fallen prey to a homogeny of woke thought that probably wouldn't think to even question this man's incredibly stupid decision. In fact, I think it was probably encouraged, and it will be defended. But enough of this. These are not the sort of things that should go unnoticed, and change is desperately needed. So I wrote a letter to this principal, and I'm going to read it to you. You can find it on the link in the comments with all the receipts. Everything I'm about to say was reported in the National Post. So please click. But I'm going to read you my letter to this principal because it was just absolutely insane. Dear Principal Hobbs, this morning I woke up to reports that you royally screwed up your school's Remembrance Day ceremony by choosing to play a very controversial song that engendered division and anxiety within your student body. And then, when confronted by members of your school's community about this dangerously irrational decision, you reportedly said this. Principal Aaron Hobbs defended the selection during one of those meetings, saying it was chosen to bring diversity and inclusion to Remembrance Day that is usually about a, quote, white guy that has done something related to the military. This was in the National Post. First, let me congratulate the students who blew the whistle, took this to the media, and confronted you. Well done. It gives me hope that despite having the grievous misfortune of having their education overseen by you, they've been able to retain a sense of right and wrong. My colleagues in the Ontario legislature must take this matter seriously. Canadians across the country are watching their response to your actions closely. I will be too. Now on to the substance of the matter. The actions you undertook politicized your school's Remembrance Day ceremony. It made kids who feel persecuted for their faith in their own community right now extremely uncomfortable. It divided your student body on a day when it should have been united in reverence for the sacrifices of Canadian men and women in defense of our pluralism, and during a time where there is unrest in our streets. And then this. A white guy who has done something related to the military. I have plumbed the depths of ignorance of this comment, and I have not yet found its end. Do you not understand how divisive this false belief is? The defense of Canada is colorblind. Ask anybody who serves. The contributions of men and women from every faith and economic background, including Indigenous persons, to Canada's armed forces are well documented. That people of diverse backgrounds stand together shoulder to shoulder in defense of our pluralism is the miracle of Canada. Remembrance Day is when we are charged with honoring Canada's military for the courage of their action, not the color of their skin. It terrifies me that a person in charge of the education of hundreds of diverse students does not seem to understand this. But your comment belief also taints the contribution of countless men who died in service to Canada. The truth that your woke self needs to understand is that, yes, tens of thousands and more of white men died to protect Canada's peaceful, democratic pluralism. You owe your ability to spew your ignorance to their sacrifice, and you dishonor the freedom that they won for you by infecting students with your preening idiocy. Years of peace and prosperity have lulled Canadians like you into thinking that no power can take away what we have, or worse, that we have nothing to defend. I wrote a piece about this yesterday, by the way. You can find it on my Substack as well, too. As an educator, you have an important role to play in imparting the sacred obligation of remembrance within our children. And yet, here we are. I am married to, quote, a white guy who had something to do with the military. He served over 20 years in one of our allied countries' military, and he would have given his life to protect freedom and to liberate those being persecuted from evil. Anyone serving in Canada's military has done and will do the same thing. Their families, do you know anyone do you know how challenging it is to have a member of your family on deployment? Do you know what it's like to be a spouse to somebody who has military-related PTSD? Also sacrifice in defense of our nation. You don't know any of this, even though as an educator you should, and your lack of knowledge on this front is terrifying. On Remembrance Day, you had one job, to unite your student body in gratitude for those who sacrificed to protect the miracle of our nation. Your grade on this front is 0 out of 5, F. Needs extensive remediation. You should seek to disabuse yourself of your lack of knowledge by serving those who serve our country. I challenge you to do something to take yourself off your false moral high horse, like working to provide help to homeless veterans or listening to military families who have a loved one out on a deployment. Shame on you. You dishonor your country. Your students should pay you no heed. The Honorable Michelle Rempel-Garner, PCMP, Member of Parliament, Calgary Nose Hill, proud wife of a white guy who had something to do with the military. What this principal did was absolutely disgusting. And I really hope, colleagues, if you're listening to this and you serve in the Ontario legislature, you got to do something about this. This is absolutely ridiculous. But for those of you who are watching here today, make sure you share this video. I would like to think that this is something that everybody in Canada could agree upon. What this guy did was absolutely disgusting and is a disservice to the honor and promise of Canada. I mean, we could share different political viewpoints on policy, but to do something like this on Remembrance Day, to divide kids who are there to learn about the sacrifice of Canada's military in defending our freedom, no. But this is what wokeism does, right? It makes it seem that something like this is okay, but we have to make sure that people know it's not okay. So I ask you to do this. Share this video, click subscribe. The link in the comments has this letter. It has the link to the original National Post article, and get the word out. We have to fight back. This is this is disgusting, right? Right? Yes. So, I can't, especially look, I don't talk about my personal life very often on this channel, but my husband served in the military and he's a white guy. And you know what? There's many other people in this country who are white guys who served in the military. And there's a lot of other people of every different faith, every ethnicity. And I know that when they serve together, they don't look at the color of each other's skin. They look at each other as Canadians, and they know that there's something that's worth defending there. So shame on you, Aaron Hobbs. I find what you did absolutely disgusting. I denounce it. And anybody who goes to his school, don't listen to that guy. It's not worth your time. Working hard for you. Have a great day.